What's up, 2025, leveling up this year. We got a product review that we're about to get into. I've been wanting to get into more product reviews for a couple years now, but I feel like I'm now in the space. I got enough gear and I've used it enough that I'm like, okay, let's get into it. What we're talking about today is shot timers. Now, if you're an avid shooter, you've heard about a shot timer, you probably use a shot timer, but there's a new one that's on the market and it's a little pricey, but it's worth the price point, and I'm here to explain why it's worth the price point. So typically what I used before, Old Faithful right here, I feel like this is one that everybody probably has. If they don't have this one, they have the pack timer or just some modern version or just some version of an older shot timer that we have. Like I said, I've been using this for a few years now, but I decided to pick up a new shot timer in November because there were some features that I saw and I needed to know what it was about. This one, like I said, easy to use, very cool, you know, screen's up here, nice screen, reads the shots very well, but it doesn't pick up dry fire. Dry fire is one of those things that everybody's telling you to do. You know, 5 minutes of dry fire a day or a week, you know, can benefit you this much time over, you know, once it compounds. Great. My issue with dry fire is I don't have any metrics to measure if I'm actually doing this right, if I'm actually on target and I'm getting the right practice, or if I'm building bad habits. With dry fire, you can, you know, come out of your holster, you can go click on the actual gun, but one, if you don't have a laser that shows you where the impact was going to happen, how do you know that that shot was on target? How do you know that your grip is exactly what it should be? So the most benefit that you really get is just drawing and pulling the trigger. And even if you don't reset the slide, you can just move it back and forth, but that's not how your trigger actually feels. Like, there is pressure in that trigger once it's actually set and it's going to fire. There was no way to actually practice that before. So for years, I was not even dry firing myself as an instructor because I understood the intrinsic value, but I couldn't really justify the book value of it until the Shooter's Global Timer. This timer right here came out sometime last year. Again, I saw it, a couple people had it, but it wasn't, you know, in the hands of everybody. I still don't feel like a lot of people have it just yet. You know, for as many people that have it, I feel like there's way more that don't. This timer is the only timer that you need from this point forward. Like, I don't see another product coming out that can really beat this. I only see them making innovations to this that continue to push it forward inside of our market. The reason for it, this sensor right here, this sensor is the most sensitive thing I have ever seen on the market, to the point that it can pick up dry fire. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let me talk about it a little bit more. Let me show you what the box looks like. So here's the box. When you actually buy it, this is what it's going to look like. The SG Timer 2 by Shooters Global, newest thing out there. They have a digital app that allows you to adjust all the different settings that you would put on the timer. You can do it on your phone. They also have a smartwatch app that allows you to view those same times and make those same adjustments on your smartwatch, which I do really like because it's a quicker way to actually do things. If I don't want to actually move the timer, if I can just adjust it on my watch, which is already kind of in my eyesight if I'm presenting, you know, that kind of makes it a little bit easier than trying to actually manually adjust it every time. And even with the BT timer here, you know, having to use these buttons right here to navigate everything can be extremely just tedious to get through. Like, even I'll show you here. To do anything on here, you have to like really understand what you're doing and go through all these different settings. And sometimes it can be very confusing of which button to push. Even though you only have 4 buttons, you have to know which one to push, which one not to push to actually get to the settings that you would need to get to. So the simplified way that they made it on this SG Global Timer, again, does have some benefits right then and there. So let's go ahead and turn this bad boy on. Center button right there, turns it on. Here we go. We go here, you can see the different modes. So you got shooting practice, you got dry practice, you have the history, statistics, settings, and then of course your power off is that last setting down below. Let's get into the dry practice. If we go to the dry practice, because this is the first thing that actually made me want to buy this thing. So the dry practice is what you're going to use if you're dry firing inside of the house. If you want to practice your draw to first shots, if you have a Mantis system or if you have the dry fire system, you can use it to practice multiple shots, and this will pick up everything. Getting into the settings, just on the screen, what do we have? So you see it says any. The any section is set for any caliber. So it can do, let's go to it. Settings, right there, we'll click any. And you can see all the different calibers that you can actually shoot, and this thing can pick up when you're dry firing. So from 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 16 gauge shotguns to carbines to 308 suppressed, 308 unsuppressed, carbines, 22 less lethal options, or of course the any option, which I think is just the easiest one to go to, so you don't need an actual set for it. The sensor setup, I recommend, especially when you're dry firing, to always leave that sensor at 100, because anything below 100, it kind of doesn't pick it up unless your gun has a very loud click to it. So 100 and it picks up everything. You see in the middle, the volume, I have it set to 5 because it's indoors. I don't need the loud beep like I'm on the outdoor range. So set it to be a quieter beep. And then the wait time I have on there is 1, and I'll get into the wait time in a little bit. You got smart mode versus classic mode. Smart mode is where it's picking up on the sensor. The classic mode, the rep starts and ends with the beep. It doesn't really do anything else. Your delay time in there, so that on the dry practice, that's how long it's gonna take before the rep actually happens. So this is set to 3 seconds. So whenever you click the button, 3 seconds are gonna go by and then the rep is going to start. Sets is a really cool feature. So again, I can set it to be 5 sets, and instead of having to re-click my timer every single set, but when I wanna go, I can go set the timer to 5 sets and then click it, go, and it's just going to keep going for all 5 sets until I'm done with my rep. And that's where our wait time comes in. So our wait time that we saw in the last one, if I need time to adjust myself in between, so if I'm running rifle and I'm doing 1R1s, 1 reload ones, it's going to take me a little second to actually, reset myself. So I can set the timer, the wait time, to be 6 seconds. 6 seconds should be enough for me to pick up my mag, insert the dry mag, and then, get back into the rep. And then after 6 seconds, the next rep is going to start. And it's just going to keep going for however many sets I put it. Really cool feature. It allows you to stay connected inside the rep the entire time, stay focused. I don't have to break my grip on the rifle in order to, get to that timer wherever I had it set. Once I click the button and we're going for all 5 sets or whatever actually I want to do. Dry time. For the dry fire, your dry time is essentially the max time that you're going to allow yourself. So it's set to 3. So for example, that could be a bill drill time, 6 shots in less than 3 seconds. You need to be able to pull that trigger 6 times, and at 3 seconds, it's gonna cut you off right there. So anything after 3 seconds, it's not gonna register as a valid shot. It'll show you the time that you are over for missing that rep. Pause time is what we were kind of just talking about, where that's gonna be the pause in between. Actually, your pause time, I'm lying. Your pause time is how long the app is going to make you, or the sensor is going to make you wait before you can start the next rep. So what typically happens with this BT timer, right? You give it to a friend, especially if they don't run shot timers. You're at the range with, your friend that doesn't go quite often. You're going to give them the timer and it's going to be like, hey, time me. They're going to click that little button on the side. But the issue with this BT timer is you're going to do a rep, you do a 1R1 rep, and it is your best time. And you want to get it on camera, but they mistakenly just hit the button again and restarted it. So now you can't see it. Your pause time on the SG Global timer doesn't allow them to do that. So it's going to wait 3 seconds before they can click the button again to start the next rep. So it kind of guarantees that you can look at that data before you move on and collect new data. Again, small feature that does have really good utility in terms of being on the range and collecting some of that data. If we're ending on the dry practice real quick, what we actually got here is when we start this, again, we got that 3 second delay. It just picked up all of those shots. So boom, you can see that's the data, and then you got to see the pause time right there. So it allows you to pause right there, see what you're doing, and then you can go into the next rep now. Again, one more time. Boom. Click. Boom. That's our pause time, allowing us to read it so we can't actually, hit that timer again during that moment. So 1 set, 161. Dry time, so in the dry fire section, it doesn't calculate your splits or anything like that. Traditionally, when you're dry firing, especially I feel like previous to last year, when the new products kind of really start coming out, even though a lot of products within the last 2 years have been automatic to reset the trigger. So when they were making this timer, I don't think they really thought about the other products out there that allows the force reset of the trigger during dry fire time. So typical dry fire, you have to manipulate the slide and you're only going to get 1 shot. So the dry fire time, the dry practice isn't really meant to pick up multiple shots. That's what you're going to get when you go to your shooting practice. Now in shooting practice, you can also use this for dry fire too, which I just kind of messed around with the settings and got it there. It has a lot of the same things, but there's some added features to there, like the random delay. So the random delay, instead of there just being a constant 3 second delay like there is in dry practice, which can create a false positive, because after you do enough reps subconsciously, you're going to get used to that 3 second time. And you're going to be able to time it to really get your shots there, which can be good, but having a random delay really allows you to get inside the nitty gritty, and you have to really anticipate that beep happening and then perform, as opposed to having a more predictable beep. So in the shooting practice, you get to actually have a delay time. Time limit is kind of the same thing that we just had before, where we can set it to be 3 seconds if we're going to do a bill drill, and we want to keep it true to 3 seconds, especially if you know you're kind of over time. You can set it to 3 seconds for your time limit. You can do a shot limit too. So again, bill drill, 3 second time limit, and then 6 shot pickup, which you'll be able to actually operate inside of the presets. So you see right there, you have your shots, which I just have to infinite because I don't really care. Pause time, 5 seconds, which you just saw on the dry practice. So you'll get 5 seconds to actually look at that data, and then everything else that you see in there, you can do. So again, with the sensor setup, again, kind of very similar to the other one, except the echo filter. So the echo filter, what that does is it allows you to, kind of play with the sensitivity of the timer a little bit, where if you're in an indoor range and you still want to use the timer, you can set the echo filter to kind of filter out all the other shots that are happening, so it's just focused on you. Or even if you're at a major range day, like as an instructor, if I'm running a group range day and I got 6 guys on the line, I'm gonna walk down the line with this and it will only pick up on that person that is right near me. It's not gonna pick up the extra noises. So you could play around with that sensitivity. The BT timer does have that too, but I didn't even know it had that until just yesterday when I was looking into it, because there's the settings, as you saw, it's so convoluted and kind of so crammed in there. I don't quite know how to manipulate everything in there. SG timer, this makes it really easy. The screen is big enough to make everything easy to read. So again, that's kind of a bigger benefit too. You get this type of screen versus this skinny screen right here, which they're probably about the same size in length, but the width of it is a lot bigger on this SG timer here. So you can do that inside of the spy mode, which is down here. You got spy mode. It has a list of a lot of other timers. I think these timers, so I'm not quite sure because I don't have any of these other timers that are on here, but you can see the Pack Club timer. I don't think that one is Bluetooth. So what I think the spy mode does is, if you're on the range, like again, as an instructor, if I'm on the range with another instructor and he's using the pack timer, I think I can set the spy mode to be the pack timer and it'll pick up on the beep of that timer and allow me to collect that data inside of here too. So if I need to program it for something later or just take it down, I could already have that data and I don't have to use his timer, waste time trying to, so we apply it, transfer information between each other during the middle of a class. I think that's what it's used for. Granted, I really don't know because I don't have any of those. So I don't really see myself using the spy mode feature. But I'll try to use that with somebody else at another time. If we hit the start on the shoot practice mode, boom, random delay of whatever it's gonna be. You can see it collects all that data. See, the best split was 11. I don't quite believe that the best split was 11. I think more of what it was collecting right there was the actual reset of the trigger. So in here, I'm using the dry fire mag. That's what this is. There's a laser in the barrel. So I'm not gonna, and you shouldn't manipulate the slide when you have a dry fire mag in there. You should avoid it at all costs. But for the sake of the video, because I don't need anybody getting weird on me, if you look inside of there, you can see the laser is inside of the actual hole. So there are no live ammo in there. It's all dry fire mag. I think what this is actually picking up, and you can see here, all of those noises, it just picked up. So all that manipulation, the sensor is so sensitive that it actually just picked it up. So I think the split time that it's getting is the actual trigger resetting, as opposed to it being a true split time. Like I'm not getting 11 splits with this SIG right here. It's just not, the trigger is not built for that kind of deal. Constant time going, you have the RPM mode, which I haven't set, which RPM is essentially the rate of fire that you're going. All of that can be measured inside of there. So again, you can use the shoot practice for dry fire and you still get all the information. And then here you get the stats on the backside too. So you can see everything that it took, scroll down there, see what the different reps were, see what everything was inside of there. And boom, you get all that information on an easy to read screen just like this. And so yeah, like this thing is, the data it's giving you, the ability to use the traditional shot timer as a dry fire tool still is extremely underrated, because if we had to go to this timer here, the BT timer, turn it on, so you can see it's on. This data is from something else, but if we go to click this, it's gonna start. Like it can't pick up, the sensor in this is not strong enough to pick up those clicks. Meanwhile, here, even on shooting practice, which is for live fire, it can still be set to pick up the sensor, or the sensor can be set to pick up the sound of the actual dry fire mag. And then I don't have to change those settings when I'm going to the live range out there. I can decrease it if I find that the timer is picking up too many extra shots, so I can lower it to the sensitivity of 65 like we saw earlier, and then it can only pick up me. But underrated. Like I get dry practice and then I can use the traditional shot timer to still get more data on my dry fire practice, which again, you're gonna save so much money on ammo. You're gonna get so much better, a lot faster than everybody else, because you're putting in more reps. It's kind of like that Kobe mentality where if I can practice more than you, if I can put in more reps than you, compounded over time, I'm going to be better. And now that I have statistics, I have data to actually measure how good I'm getting and where my performance is, I'm definitely going to get faster than the person that's just dry firing without this tool right here, because they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any data to back up their performance. Meanwhile, if you buy this, you will have all the data to back up your performance. What else can we show you on here? So if we go into the history real quick, it'll show you how many sessions that I've actually run with this thing. So I got this in November and I've run over 1,000 sessions with it. And again, those aren't all on the range. I've probably been to the range, I'd say a solid 6 times between, no, way more than 6. I probably can't count how many times I've been to the range, but it's less than 30. It's less than 30 range days since the time I got this, which is right before Thanksgiving, kind of that Black Friday time. Up until right now, I've probably been to the range less than 30 times, but I've had over 1,000 sessions using this thing. So again, I'm putting in way more reps than everybody out there just by using this on a normal for my dry fire practice. If we go to details, again, it'll give you all the details of your last session, again, on a much easier to read screen than it would be on this BT timer right here. If I want to do it on the BT timer, I got to figure out where to go on it. Again, I got to click all of these and it's just bringing me through all these different settings. So like, I don't quite know. I don't even know if I'm on the right side for this. That's the par times. Oh wait, no, it was that one. Let me go back. So here is where I would get it. But you see, like, I had to click through a lot of things just to get there. Meanwhile, on here, I could just scroll to the history and it's going to give me all that data. Like if I had to get back, we're just going to go back. I can click that and now I'm already back to the regular screen. I can get to wherever I need to. So a lot less clicks, a lot less convoluted information and different settings that I got to get to. Like to get to the settings here, if I want to change the actual settings, I can just go to settings there. What we're talking 4 or 5 clicks down. And now I can adjust my settings. They're in their own designated place. They're not kind of tied into everything else. When I want to get back to dry fire or dry practice or shooting practice, boom, just go there and I'm back to wherever I need to get. So again, that ability, super cool. In the presets here, you can do different presets. So common par, that's how you set your par time. So if you did want to, measure yourself between a rep where you really needed it to be a certain time, you can do that inside of here. Again, it'll set you to 5 sets. So just the automatic settings is 5 sets. The time limit is 3 and your shots are 2. So again, you're measuring the splits on that par time because that's really what you're trying to measure in that moment. So that setting is already done for you. You don't need to do anything else. And then when we come to changing those, again, you don't have to go into there. You can just click the down arrow and it'll automatically switch between all the different settings for you. So preset 1, preset 2, common, the par, or just the airsoft, which is kind of the airsoft one. I set that to be the dry fire practice because I was like, maybe it's the most common to it, but they have a less lethal option in here. I don't know what type of firearm they would consider less lethal. I'm like, I don't think that's a taser. So we'll have to figure out, maybe it's a typical BB gun that's not 6mm because I don't know how big the diameter of a BB actually is. But either way, besides the point. The other cool thing is let's show you what the inside of the actual app looks like. So when we're going to the app, right here's all my different shooting apps. SG Timer app is right there. It's gonna come online. My Wi-Fi network sucks. It automatically connected because it recognizes that the timer is on. So whatever I want to change inside of the timer, I can automatically change inside of here. You got training, you got free shoot right there. If we go to training, this is our dry fire mode. You can do everything and it's gonna give you that data right there. So like I said, it's a con of this is this back piece is gonna connect to your leg. This is magnetized here. It is kind of annoying depending on where this is set to have to take it off the magnet every single time to look at the screen. While on the BT timer, the screen is oriented at the top, so all I have to do is look down and I can see my times. But in my room when I'm using dry fire practice, I typically always have the phone set up, and I'll show you why I always have the phone kind of propped up on a tripod. It can give me all this data right here. So you can see right there, it says record video. When you go to record, the other cool feature is it's going to give me all the time and data on the screen of what I'm doing in that moment. So if I go from here on the app or on the actual timer, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go to dry practice because that's what I set it to. The training on this is dry practice here. Once I started here, ooh, can you see that? It's really, really hard to see. Let me close it like that. So you can see the time, it's counting down the time that it's taking me to actually do a rep. And so now if I actually just did a little click, it's gonna measure and it's showing me how much time I was over from that 3-second time that we already have set on there. And now when I'm creating content, I can easily do it through the app, it automatically overlays all this data on there. So from this point forward, I don't have to try to communicate that on my content to people and they don't understand it in context. They can see exactly how my student is performing or how I'm performing while I'm on video. So that's what it looks like on dry time. If we go to, we're going here, if we go to free shoot, which again, this is for the live training. Again, all the settings are already right there for you on the phone. So if I want to change the sensitivity of the sensor, right there. If I want the echo filter, I can adjust the beep volume, spy mode, all the different shooting settings are already right there in the app. So I don't need to manipulate the actual timer in order to get those settings done. Again, if I want to go to video, it gives you more data inside of there. So at the bottom, you can see it's going to show you the amount of shots, the best split times, and what your first shot time was. And then it still has that same countdown sensor right in the middle of it. So you'll know what that's like. Again, I lied because this is still on dry practice. So in order to make the app work, you will have to go to the proper settings. Now I'm going to shooting practice. We'll try it again. I just started it. It's counting down. So it's collecting all that data, overlaying it on top of the screen so you can see exactly what it is. And if we need to see it here, this is what this is showing. It's showing the exact same thing on the screen, 6 shots, best splits, and all that cool nature stuff. So again, creating content as a shooter now is a lot easier. It automatically records the moment you hit the timer here. This automatically starts recording. So again, one of the biggest pros for me on that or on this app is that feature, right? Like this feature right here, the ability to record is a huge benefit because when I'm on the range with a student, I don't have time to fiddle with the camera, start and stop the camera or whatever it has to do. Like I need to be focused on them for safety because they're usually a new shooter. They've not handled guns and they need someone dedicated to focus with them. So I don't have time to mess with the content and I don't always have my filmer with me to be able to film what I'm doing. So the ability for this operation to just happen on its own already based off me using the timer and they're connected is a huge benefit. It makes content a lot easier to make when I'm shooting. It makes it so much more contextual to everybody that's on the actual app. Again, still super reliable. Like creating content is now a lot easier when you're trying to overlay it for the gram and everything like that. All the settings are right there. Other benefits of this app is they have a stage library, which all the stage library is people can create VR shooting competition type of deal. So if you want to set targets in different areas, you could VR overlay them and you can start to see what those are like. So if we had to view this one here, like this is the shooting stage that someone made. Can we just zoom in? I don't use this part of the app very often. So we're trying to zoom in right there. So you can see the shooting stage that somebody made. So if you had a way to set the phone up for VR, you could actually see what that's like, do a walkthrough. So if we had to do a walkthrough, it kind of shows you exactly what the stage would look like and how you would go about doing it all. So again, more ways to get good because I'm getting into competition shooting. First match is on February 3rd. This now allows me to get more practice and more reps before I actually go out there so I can do better when I'm actually out there on the range with them. So this timer has so many things. If we talk about the battery life, off of one charge, I just charged it for the first time the other day since I got it in November. And now I got a full battery and it says up to 7,000 sessions off of one charge. I mean, off of one charge, I was probably at 1,000 sessions because since I've charged it, I probably used it about 24 times. Like I'm willing to bet somewhere in there. And if not truly 1,000, it's somewhere in the upper 900 range of how many sessions I got on it off a single charge. And that was it being freshly charged out of the box, like not having to charge it again, just out the box. I probably got about 1,000 sessions off of it. Meanwhile, the typical 9-volt battery that's in here, depending on how often I'm using this, like I didn't turn it off right now, so the battery's just getting used up. I'll have to replace that battery a lot often. And if I don't have a 9-volt on the range and this is dying, like there's nothing I can do, but most everybody has a USB-C charger either in your car, just on them with an extra battery pack. So now I can easily just go get some reps, let this charge up a bit, and then boom, we're back in action. We can keep using it again. Another cool feature, orientation. So if it's flipped upside down like this, the screen will show that way. When I flip it that way, it'll flip back up. So no matter what, it'll always give me the right up, easy to read display of whichever orientation it's at. It doesn't do sideways. I mean, there's not really a reason for you to hold it this way. But this timer, man, like it is worth the $300 value every day of the week. Housing protects from dust, Bluetooth, auto connects via NFC, equipped with wireless charging. Ooh, I didn't even know that. I didn't know you could charge this thing wirelessly, which is also just super cool. So if you just need to set it down on a charger, like I'm assuming it could do that, which how do I test that out? This is like I'm actually learning this feature right now with you on the screen. If I set it here, no, it doesn't charge. I had a little phone charger there. I thought it could charge. I don't know where you can wirelessly charge this thing, but yeah, wireless charging is what it says. You know, I'm not that dyslexic. I can read it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. The app, can't beat the app. The ability for it to be used on the smartwatch. All these features just make it worth the value. Like, you will get better. Within the first few days of using it, I was able to get my draw to first shots from concealment under a sub 1, which I had never done before. You know, I saw guys do it. I didn't think it was possible with this gun just because I don't have ports. It's very stock. So I was thinking that I kind of need more of a race gun to get it done. Absolutely not. I just need a timer to show me how close I was and to figure out, okay, well, how much faster do I need to move to actually get to that timer or to get to that time? This helped me do it. I will try to overlay that video because I'm pretty sure I recorded it. So I'll try to overlay me getting to my draw to first shots for the first time on from concealment and from a level 3 holster. Both of them showed me like, okay, this is how fast, which again, I would have never thought possible beforehand, because with the traditional timer, it's only going to give me the time on my actual live fire shot. Like, it's not going to tell me dry fire wise what I'm doing. So if I want to really practice that, I need, you know, a bunch of rounds to really try to get there. But I was able to practice that dry fire first, then do it on the range and see like, oh, it's true. Like, I'm actually performing at such a higher standard, and it's only been a couple hours worth of practice on this thing. So if you're an avid shooter, if you haven't seen me, you know, loving this product already, and this video hasn't convinced you, and then like, I don't know what will convince you, but this is worth the price. Hopefully Shooters Global will give me, I'm in talks with them right now. They already reached out to me on Instagram, or they responded to me. I won't say they reached out. I reached out to them and they responded. Hopefully I will have a link down below for y'all to go and pick up this timer. Hopefully there'll be a discount code too, so you don't have to pay the full 300. You know, somewhere, any amount of dollar, any dollar saved in today's America is a great deal. So hopefully you can get a couple dollars off by using the link down below. Pick yourself up one, because if you want to get better, if you're serious about shooting, if you're serious about protection, just using it as a sport, just whatever, this timer is what you need. You won't need another timer. I have not used this timer since November, not once. Like, I don't pick it up. It just sits in my ammo can. If I need it as a backup, sure, but like, why would I need a backup when I could just charge this thing back up real quick and then boom, I'm back in action. But I guess in the time of charging this, like, yes, I now have this to operate off of, but I don't, like, the battery's not dying on this thing quick enough. So that's this review. I don't think I left anything out. I think that's everything. Well, let's talk about a couple cons. How fair would it be if I only told you about every benefit? One of the cons of this actually is the sensor. So this sensor is so sensitive that during dry fire practice, it picks up all the noises. So when I'm clearing level 3 holster, like, it'll pick up me literally clearing the holster. But it's not a full con, because now it's letting me know how fast I'm actually coming out of holster. So if it's, you know, calibrating the sound at 0.56, well, that's how fast it's taking me to coming out of level 3 holster. Can I make that faster to get a faster draw to first shot? Who knows? That information is now vital information that I can use to increase my performance time. So while it is a con, it's still a pro. So it's kind of a half and half on that one. Same thing with the rifle though. Like, when I'm practicing dry fire with my Mantis system, the sensor picks up the click of the actual safety selector. So when I'm flicking off safe, it'll pick that up and register that as the first shot, which is like, that's technically a false positive first shot. It'll then pick up the actual trigger sound. And then when I flick back on safe, it'll pick that up too. So it kind of sucks, especially when you're flicking back on safe, because if you had a good draw to first shot in 0.7 on the rifle, and then it picks up that click and now it puts you at like 103, it's like, well, no, it wasn't 103, it was 0.75. But now you're just getting the totality of the entire time that it took you to go off safe, back on safe, and finish that rep out. So if you don't flick back on safe right away and let it kind of end, you know, it won't register that sound, but that can build slightly a bad habit too. But again, I still think there's a time and place for that data to be collected and be evaluated in terms of your performance. The other con is, you know, I wouldn't beat this thing up too much. Like, I wouldn't just go throwing it around the range or just dropping it and be negligent with it. And I feel like that's just the overall thing with all gear. Like, even with this timer, you know, I wouldn't go throwing this thing around the range or just letting it fall. Granted, it's fallen many times and it's been fine. But with both of these, I'd be mindful of that because you don't want anything internal to break. Both companies do make a sleeve as a protective, shield or casing around it, so it can take a little bit more banged up. I don't drop this very often. Like it stays connected to my duty belt. Same thing here, like it stays connected. So that's not really a worry for me. So I'm not gonna buy that sleeve as of now because I don't feel like I need it. I think I'm safe enough, knock on wood. Yeah, just think I'm responsible enough to not really drop it and bang it up that much. But you can see a little banged up just because it does get used, just out there, gets knocked around if it's on my leg or whatever. But again, overall, I still think it's like those are the two cons. The sensor is so sensitive that it picks up extra noise. And then the real con that doesn't have an Also Pro is, I'd be very careful in terms of getting it banged up. It's not that it feels cheap. It's not that the plastic feels, cheap or anything like that. I just would be mindful, and I don't want to accidentally break anything or, mess up the sensor in any way. So I'd just be mindful of not letting it get too banged up and being mindful of where it's at on your body when you're out there. But other than that, I can't really think of anything else that's bad about it. Like the app works phenomenally. Everything internally works phenomenally. It's small. The package is nice. The ability to get better is just so great that I really can't beat it. Like this is my favorite tool. I'm using this thing every single day. Every day I'm dry firing now, every single day. Like all 2024, we're leveling up. I'm increasing my skills. So I'm dry firing every day. And this is a very vital tool to help me get to my end goal at the end of the year of becoming a world-class shooter that is recognized nationally. There you go. Now y'all know the goal. So that's the end of this video. I don't think there's anything more I need to really talk about with this thing. I think I've hit all the highlighted points that you would need to know. So without further delay, this will be the end. Stay tuned for the next video. Turn on the post notifications, comment down below, click that link in the bio, follow me on all the socials, and stay on mission. Until next time.